that he really turned a lemon into lemonade.
Clint Walker finally breaks silence on Jack Elam. Clint Walker, born Norman Eugene Walker on May 30th, 1927, in Hartford, Illinois, became one of Hollywood's most iconic Western stars. With his towering 6'6" frame and commanding presence, he rose to fame through his role as Cheyenne Body in the long-running TV series Cheyenne, 1955-1963. Beyond television, Walker also starred in films such as The Dirty Dozen, 1967. Despite his tough on-screen persona, he was known as a humble and kind man off-screen. Walker passed away in 2018 at the age of 90, leaving behind a legacy as a classic cowboy hero. Clint Walker's acting career. Clint Walker's journey into Hollywood was as unique as his towering presence. Standing at 6 feet 6 inches, 1'98", with an impressive physique, he immediately drew attention in an era when strong or rugged men were in high demand for westerns. Early in his career, he was managed by Henry Wilson, who initially suggested the stage name Jet Norman. However, it was under his real name that Walker truly made his mark, becoming one of the most recognizable faces in Western entertainment. His breakthrough came in 1955 when he was cast as Cheyenne Bodie in the Warner Brothers television series Cheyenne. Running until 1963, this was the first hour-long Western on television and made Walker a household name. His stoic, brave, yet empathetic character defined the archetype of the American cowboy hero, and audiences across the nation tuned in weekly to follow his adventures. Walker's charisma and physical presence turned Cheyenne into one of the most successful Western series of its time. Beyond the small screen, Clint Walker's film career also flourished. He appeared in Cecil B. DeMille's epic The Ten Commandments, 1956, before taking on leading roles in Western films such as Fort Dobbs, 1958, Yellowstone Kelly, 1959, and Gold of the Seven Saints, 1961. In 1967, he took part in the star-studded war film The Dirty Dozen, playing Samson Posey, a giant but gentle soldier, a role that once again highlighted his physical presence while showcasing his ability to add depth to tough guy characters. Not limited to acting, Walker also explored music, releasing the album Inspiration in 1959, featuring a collection of gospel and inspirational songs that reflected his warm baritone voice. His work extended beyond entertainment. He dedicated significant time to charitable organizations such as the Red Cross, United Way, and the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, emphasizing his commitment to giving back. Later in life, he expanded into writing, co-authoring the adventure novel Yaqui Gold in 2003 with Kirby Jonas. This move showcased another facet of his creativity and storytelling ability. His contributions to entertainment and culture were recognized with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1960, the prestigious Golden Boot Award in 1997, and the induction into the Hall of Great Western Performers in 2004. Clint Walker's career was not just about playing cowboys. It was about embodying the ideals of strength, loyalty, and integrity, both on and off the screen. His legacy continues to inspire fans of classic westerns and remains a shining example of Hollywood's golden era. The personal life of Clint Walker, behind the image of a towering cowboy hero. Clint Walker's personal life was filled with love, loss, discipline, and resilience. His private journey shaped the man behind the Western legend and revealed a side of him that was deeply devoted to family, health, and his personal beliefs. Walker's marital life reflected both joy and tragedy. His first marriage was to Vera Garver in 1948, which lasted 20 years. Together they had one daughter, Valerie, who would later make history by becoming one of the first female commercial airline pilots in the United States, a pioneering achievement that reflected both her strength and the values passed down from her father. After their divorce in 1968, Walker eventually found love again. In 1974, he married Giselle Hennessy, a union that was remembered for its happiness and stability until her passing in 1994. Despite the heartbreak of losing his second wife, Walker showed resilience and, 3 years later, in 1997, married Susan Cavallari. They remained together until his death in 2018, marking over 2 decades of companionship. His lifestyle choices also revealed a disciplined and thoughtful man. Walker followed a pescatarian-inspired diet, avoiding red meat and focusing instead on chicken and salmon. He cared deeply about his health and physical fitness, which allowed him to maintain his imposing presence well into his later years. This attention to diet and well-being was not only about sustaining his career, but also about embodying the principles of strength and discipline that his roles often symbolized. In addition to his family and lifestyle, Clint Walker was not shy about his political views. He openly supported conservative values and famously endorsed Barry Goldwater during the 1964 presidential election. This revealed a man who stood firmly by his beliefs, unafraid to voice his opinions, even in an industry often shaped by liberal ideologies. His conservative alignment sometimes set him apart from Hollywood peers, but it also underscored his individuality and commitment to authenticity in both life and career. Clint Walker's personal life, with its mix of enduring love, discipline and health, and steadfast political convictions, reflected the very qualities that made him so beloved on screen. He was not just an actor portraying strength and integrity. He lived those ideals in his private world, leaving behind not only a cinematic legacy, but also a deeply human one. Clint Walker's landmark life event, among the many stories that shaped Clint Walker's remarkable life, none was as dramatic and defining as the near-fatal accident he suffered in 1971. While skiing in Mammoth Mountain, California, Walker fell and was tragically impaled in the chest by a ski pole. The pole pierced his heart, and he was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. In fact, doctors initially declared him dead, yet in what would later be described as a medical miracle. Walker was revived during emergency surgery after his heart was carefully repaired. The incident left fans, colleagues, and even the medical staff astonished. Most people who experience such injuries never survive. Yet Walker's towering strength and resilience became legendary. What was even more astounding was his recovery. Within just 2 months, he was back at work, resuming filming as though nothing had happened. This event added to his reputation not only as a tough cowboy on screen, but also as a man whose real-life strength equaled the characters he played. The 1971 skiing accident became a story told and retold, an enduring symbol of Walker's determination, courage, and will to live. It reminded the world that Clint Walker was more than just an actor. He was a survivor, embodying the grit and endurance of the Western heroes he brought to life. Walker and Elam, true Western friends. When people think of Clint Walker, they often picture the towering, stoic cowboy who defined the classic era of television westerns. When they think of Jack Elam, they recall the wild-eyed, eccentric villain or comic relief who seemed to leap straight out of America's frontier mythology. For decades, rumors swirled that Walker and Elam, two icons of the Western genre, had clashed behind the scenes. Yet, in the later years of his life, Clint Walker took the opportunity to finally set the record straight. There was never a feud. In fact, He described Jack Elam as one of the most talented, humorous, and genuinely kind colleagues he had ever worked with, in interviews conducted not long before his passing. Walker addressed head-on the whispers of tension between him and Elam. These rumors, he explained, were the result of Hollywood gossip and the natural curiosity of fans who assumed that two strong personalities might not mesh well. Walker laughed at the idea, saying Elam's humor and good-natured antics made him impossible to dislike. Jack was never my enemy, Walker emphasized. He was the kind of man who made a hard day's work feel lighter. By clarifying this, Walker not only defended Elam's reputation, but also revealed a softer, more reflective side of himself that cherished camaraderie over competition. One of Walker's favorite anecdotes involved Elam's mischievous streak. On the set of a Western, Elam once staged a fake sneeze routine by secretly filling his handkerchief with steaming hot water. At the right moment, he pretended to sneeze with such exaggerated force that steam rose visibly into the cold air. The entire crew broke into laughter, including Walker, who admitted he could barely deliver his next line. "That was Jack," Walker recalled, "always thinking of some way to keep us smiling, no matter how tired or stressed we were." Elam also had a legendary reputation for uncanny luck at gambling. Walker recounted nights when the cast would gather after long shoots for card games or lighthearted bets. Elam had an almost mystical ability to win even the most absurd wagers, such as correctly guessing the direction a fly would buzz after being disturbed. "I don't know if it was luck or some kind of magic," Walker joked, "but Jack always found a way to walk away with everyone else's money." Far from causing tension, these games created lasting memories, strengthening the bond between the two actors. Walker openly admitted that Elam's attitude toward life left a deep impression on him, known for his disciplined lifestyle and towering presence. Walker often carried the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but Elam showed him that humor and lightness were just as important on set as professionalism. "Jack taught me to let go once in a while," Walker said. "He reminded me that the audience will feel the joy in your work if you allow yourself to enjoy it too." This was no small revelation. For an actor like Walker, often cast in roles that required strength, stoicism, and gravitas, Elam's playfulness provided balance. Their contrasting approaches created an unexpected harmony that enriched their performances whenever they shared the screen. One of Walker's most sincere compliments to Elam came when discussing his colleague's unique appearance. Elam's crooked eye, the result of a childhood accident, had become his defining feature in Hollywood, rather than hiding it. Elam leaned into his unusual look, crafting a persona that made him unforgettable as both villain and clown. Walker admired this deeply, noting, "Jack turned what others might see as a flaw into his greatest strength. That takes courage, and it made him one of a kind." Despite his reputation for playing dangerous outlaws, Elam in real life was gentle and good-humored. Walker remembered him as a man who loved to laugh, who went out of his way to help others, and who never carried the bitterness that sometimes haunts actors typecast into villainous roles. "Jack was generous with his time and his spirit," Walker said, "and he cared about the people around him." Looking back, Walker confessed one regret, that he and Elam had not collaborated more often. Though they shared memorable moments together, the nature of Hollywood's casting system often kept them on separate projects. Still, Walker insisted that Elam remained a genuine friend, someone he could trust both on and off the set. "He was irreplaceable," Walker concluded. "Hollywood will never see another Jack Elam, and I was lucky to call him my friend." In honoring Elam, Clint Walker revealed much about himself. His words painted a picture not just of two actors, but of two men navigating the highs and lows of an unforgiving industry, bound by respect, laughter, and shared humanity. Far from rivals, they were allies, and their legacy, intertwined, reminds us of the real connections that lie beneath Hollywood's myths. Clint Walker, a Western legend. Looking back at Clint Walker's life and career, it is clear that his legacy reaches far beyond the screen. After years of riding alongside actors like Jack Elam and building friendships that defied Hollywood gossip, Walker established himself not just as a Western hero, but as an enduring symbol of integrity, discipline, and authenticity. His 6'6" stature and commanding presence made him unforgettable. Yet it was his quiet kindness, humility, and professionalism that left the deepest mark on those who worked with him. Walker's impact on television westerns cannot be overstated. His role as Cheyenne Bodie in Cheyenne, 1955-1963, made him one of the first true television cowboys, bringing dignity and strength to a genre that shaped American pop culture. He inspired a generation of young men who saw in him not just a gunslinger, but a man who stood for honor and loyalty. His performances in films such as The Dirty Dozen and Yellowstone Kelly further cemented his place among Hollywood's most respected leading men. Off the screen, Walker lived by the same principles he portrayed in his characters. He avoided scandal, dedicated himself to charity work, and maintained a reputation as one of Hollywood's most disciplined and respectful actors. His dedication to health, fitness, and clean living was ahead of his time, inspiring others long before wellness became a trend. Beyond acting, his ventures into music and writing, including his 2003 novel Yaqui Gold, showcased a man of creativity and resilience. Clint Walker's legacy lives on in the countless reruns of Cheyenne, in the hearts of Western fans, and in the respect of colleagues who admired his unwavering professionalism. More than an actor, he became a symbol of a bygone era of Hollywood, where honor mattered as much as fame. As Walker once said, "The cowboy spirit is about courage, honesty, and never giving up." That spirit remains his true legacy. The last ride of Clint Walker. As the curtain closed on Clint Walker's extraordinary life, the man who once defined the image of the television cowboy left this world on May 21st, 2018, just 9 days before his 91st birthday. His passing, caused by heart failure, marked the end of an era. But the echoes of his presence remain strong in Hollywood history and in the hearts of fans worldwide. In his final years, Walker lived quietly with his wife, Susan Cavallari, cherishing family life away from the spotlight that had once made him a household name. Although audiences knew him best as Cheyenne Bodie, the towering and stoic cowboy of the 1950s and 1960s, Walker was remembered by those closest to him as a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. His daughter Valerie, one of the first female commercial airline pilots in the United States, remained a source of immense pride for him, and his extended family often recalled his warmth, humility, and kindness. The man who portrayed strength and toughness on screen revealed, in private, a soft heart and a generous spirit. Walker's legacy as a screen legend is firmly etched in television and film history. He became a symbol of the golden age of American westerns, embodying the values of honor, loyalty, and resilience at a time when the genre shaped national identity. Beyond Cheyenne, his work in films such as The Dirty Dozen and Yellowstone Kelly ensured that his image would remain iconic. Even in his later years, fans continued to write letters and visit him at conventions, showing how deeply he had impacted multiple generations. Perhaps one of the most enduring aspects of his life was the bond he shared with fellow actor Jack Elam. While rumors of discord followed them for years, Walker himself before his passing, clarified that their relationship was built on respect, humor, and genuine friendship. For Walker, Elam was more than a co-star. He was an irreplaceable friend who taught him the value of laughter and lightheartedness in an often harsh industry. Clint Walker's final years were marked not by scandal or fading relevance, but by dignity and the quiet satisfaction of a life well lived. His departure left behind a legacy of strength, sincerity, and cinematic heroism. More than an actor, he became a cultural monument, a reminder of an era when cowboys ruled the screen and represented the highest ideals of character. In his farewell, Clint Walker was not only mourned as a star, but as a man who touched countless lives with his towering presence and gentle soul. If Clint Walker's story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep his legend alive with us.